When the coffee shop exploded, I rushed in without hesitation and saved my childhood sweetheart boyfriend, Eric Johnson. He stroked my half-ruined face and sobbed uncontrollably. Vivian, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have ended up like this. If I ever betray you in this lifetime, may I be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. But on the eve of our wedding, I saw the chat records between him and my best friend. I really can't stand this kind of life for another day. Sophia, I love you. Once I get her family fortune, we'll run away together. My best friend smugly sent me Eric's secondary account. There were all sorts of embarrassing videos of me on it. He captioned them, "Look at her disgusting face. Doesn't she look like a ghost? If only I could relive my life. I wish she had never saved me. Unexpectedly, I really got a second chance. This time, as he wished, I didn't save him. I was lying on the sofa, sending out wedding invitations to relatives and friends. Eric's phone, which was not far away, kept vibrating. Eric? Your phone is ringing." I called out twice. The kitchen door was closed. And Eric, who was cooking inside, didn't hear me. I struggled to get up and reached for my crutch. I crawled very slowly because of the explosion 2 years ago. Not only was my face disfigured, but there were also steel nails in my thigh, which made it very difficult for me to move. I picked up the phone and was stunned for a moment. It was a message from Sophia Brown. Back then, Eric refused to add Sophia as a friend. He said he wouldn't add other women on his messaging app to give me a sense of security. I clicked on it suspiciously. But when I saw the content of their chat, I could hardly believe my eyes. My gentle and obedient childhood sweetheart boyfriend said in a harsh tone, "I'm really fed up with currying favor with Vivian. I can't stand this life for another day. Sophia, the one I love is you. Once I get Vivian's family fortune, we'll run away together. Oh, baby, I'll come to see you tonight. Remember to wear stockings for me." Why? Why? My heart ached terribly. I just couldn't believe that the boyfriend I had risked my life to save would treat me like this. He had proposed to me on one knee just yesterday in front of everyone. I dialed Sophia's number with a trembling hand. After hearing my accusation, she laughed wildly. "So you've found out. Vivian, you didn't really think Eric loves you, did you? Why don't you take a look at your face in the mirror? Wake up. Let me show you something good." She sent me an Instagram account. It had Eric's profile picture, but it was a secondary account I had never seen before. I had used Eric's phone before. His social media feed was full of our photos together. After I got injured in the explosion, Eric was extremely nice to me. When I was just out of the hospital and had difficulty moving, Eric insisted that he would be my legs. He carried me in his arms wherever he went and even waited outside the bathroom door when I went to the toilet. To take better care of me, he convinced my parents to let us live together. Eric would get up at around 5 every morning to make breakfast for me. He would put it on the table and then wake me up when I was still sleepy. He cooked dinner according to my taste, with all spicy dishes, even though he hated spicy food the most. He never showed any aversion to my ugly face. Every few days, he would post about our love on social media. He would also send me screenshots of the numerous likes and happily tell me that everyone was blessing us and thought we were the most compatible couple. I often saw his Instagram posts, which were all about our daily life. I washed the vegetables while he cooked, I painted while he posed as my model, I did rehabilitation exercises while he cheered me on loudly. Millions of fans in the comments were touched by his unwavering love, and I never regretted saving him. This kind of happy life seemed like a dream. But when I clicked on this Instagram account, I felt as if I had been doused with cold water in the middle of winter. A bone-chilling coldness spread throughout my body. Every video was still about me, the way I struggled to get out of bed, the ugly look of me crying in front of the mirror, me falling to the ground in a mess and struggling to get up. Especially my face was captured very clearly. Due to the burn from the explosion, my left face looked distorted and terrifying, enough to make a child cry out in fear at first sight. These videos were also mixed with Eric and Sophia's sweet diaries. They climbed mountains to watch the sunrise together, went surfing at the beach together, and even fed pigeons at the Prague Square together. I tortured myself by carefully looking through each and every post. The video with the most likes is actually the one of me wearing a red dress. That dress was specially bought for me by Eric. He said the bright red color suited me best. But the caption under the video read, "Look at this ghost in a red dress. She used to be a slut." Below were a bunch of comments making fun of me. Several of the avatars were very familiar. They were Eric's buddies who often liked our posts on social media. Oh my god. How disgusting. I can't eat for a day just by looking at her. Dude. If I were you, I'd have run away long ago. Ha ha ha. Let her play the ghost in Strange Tales from a Lonely Studio. It'll be a hit. The little guy is so handsome. It's really a waste. He's the flower. What hurt me the most was Eric's reply. It wasn't me who forced her to save me. She just rushed in on her own. Now, all my relatives and friends think I owe her. God. You have no idea how I've endured these 2 years. Every time I see her face, I have to vomit when I get home. It's extremely disgusting. Extremely disgusting. I laughed out loud. Eric walked out of the kitchen. Seeing me laughing with tears in my eyes, he raised the corner of his mouth, wanting to share the joy with me. The next moment, he saw the phone in my hand. His expression visibly panicked. He threw the freshly cooked dish in his hand and rushed up to grab the phone. I held it tightly and didn't let go, dragged by his great strength. I was slammed to the ground. The scalding soup burned my skin, and the broken porcelain pieces were covered with my blood. I trembled and looked up at the man carefully checking the phone. Why? I heard my voice choking. Eric slowed down his movements and looked at me after a long silence. He looked down at me in a mess, with a coldness in his tone I'd never felt before. Yes. You saved me. But I've accompanied you for 2 whole years. Isn't that enough? Since you already know, I don't want to pretend anymore. If you're smart, transfer all your shares to me as compensation for these 2 years. You have no idea how uncomfortable I am seeing your ugly face every day. My friends laugh at me behind my back and even ask me if I'm scared at night. Look at your face in the mirror. How disgusting. How can you have the nerve to stand beside me? If I were you, I'd have broken up with me long ago. I've had enough. Vivian. I'm grateful to you, but feelings can't be forced. Seriously. I've made a wish to God more than once. If I could live my life over again, I'd rather you hadn't saved me. I kept shaking my head, scratching the floor with my fingernails. I swear, even though I saved Eric, I never had the slightest thought of tying him down for life. If he disliked my current appearance, I'd just curse him as an ungrateful beast in my heart and then turn around and leave. With my family background and abilities, I can support myself without relying on anyone, let alone beg for anyone's pity. He confused me with sweet and loving days after I got hurt. But now he says he'd rather I hadn't saved him. You were nice to me because of my family's money. Otherwise? He sneered. I won't give you a single cent. I order you to get out of my house right now. I don't want to see you again. Vivian. Do you think you're still the little princess of the Logan family and I have to listen to everything you say? Eric's face was hidden in the darkness and was a bit hard to see. A sudden chill ran through my bones. Looking at Eric approaching me step by step, I felt an inexplicable panic. My leg with the steel nail ached faintly, and I couldn't even stand up due to exhaustion. The door opened, and a purple thunderbolt flashed, followed by a roar. The last thing in my memory was a pair of hands reaching out to me and Eric's cold voice. Whether you give it or not is not up to you. No. the next moment, I opened my eyes wide, and the scenery around me changed. It was in front of that coffee shop outside the school. I often met Eric here during my 4-year college. I was wearing graduation clothes at this moment, holding a rolled-up diploma in my hand, and the ribbons on it hadn't been untied. I reached out and touched my left face. It was smooth and delicate, without any scars. Through the glass, I saw Eric sitting by the window, looking at me in disbelief. He suddenly stood up and wanted to walk out. Boom, I realized something. Without thinking, I quickly threw myself to the side. The huge impact almost knocked me off my feet. And then there was another loud bang. There were continuous screams, accompanied by the sounds of breaking and collapsing. I was helped to a safe place by the firemen who came. I looked back at the coffee shop billowing with black smoke. This time, I wouldn't rush in either. Involuntarily, I touched my neck, where the cold touch of Eric's skin still lingered. I let out a long sigh. Eric, let's see how you steal my money this time. Although I only had some abrasions on my body, I was still forcibly sent to the hospital by the firefighter guys. My parents, who came after hearing the news, were terrified. They hugged me and checked me up and down until they confirmed I was okay. Vivian, why aren't you talking? Sweetie, it's okay. Don't be afraid. Mom and Dad are here. Honey, don't panic. The doctor said Vivian just has some abrasions, and the wounds will heal in a few days. Dad, Mom. I hugged them and burst into tears. I didn't feel much during the crisis just now, but when I saw my parents, I couldn't hold back my aggrieved tears. At this moment, I finally realized that the tragic fate of my past life had finally left me. I learned from my mom that the coffee shop employee's improper operation led to a gas leak and an explosion. Just like in my past life, 4 people were injured in the coffee shop. Among them, Eric was the most seriously injured and had been carried into the emergency room. How is Eric? I asked. Our 2 families were business partners. Eric and I grew up together and liked each other. We were truly childhood sweethearts. Our families also strongly supported our relationship. After all, we knew each other well, and our temperaments and appearances were extremely well matched. Alas, he's still in the rescue. I don't know how he is. My mom patted me with a lingering fear. I tried hard to suppress the smile on my lips and lowered my eyes. Come on, let's go and have a look. With that, I pulled my parents towards the emergency room and walked briskly. My parents thought I was worried about Eric's safety and comforted me as we walked. From afar, I could hear Eric's mother's mournful cries. 50% of the body is burned? He'll be disfigured and have to have an amputation. Amputation? This is much more serious than in my past life. In my past life, I rushed in and desperately dragged Eric out of the ruins. To protect him, I blocked the falling hot tiles and stones. The tiles landed on my face, and the wounds and high temperature disfigured me. A stone hit my thigh, causing a colluded fracture. Steel plates and nails were fixed in my right leg, and I walked with a limp. If Eric were to be amputated, he was so proud and self-righteous. How could he bear it? I gently patted my smooth and fair little face. Stop smiling. No, doctor. Please. If he has an amputation, what will my son do in the future? He's going to take over our family's company. I sneered in my heart. In my past life, if there hadn't been an explosion, I was also going to take over my family's company. But because of my disfigurement, which was not good for the company's image, Eric pretended to be very nice in front of my parents. My parents thought Eric would definitely marry me and really trained him as the heir. In the end, they even handed over the company's management rights to him. Eric managed the Logan family's company for more than a year, and it kept losing money. The stock price dropped sharply, and the products were often complained about. On the contrary, the Johnson family's business was booming and took away many customers from the Logan family. I clearly remembered that he wrote in his private account, "Thanks to her accident. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy for me to get the Logan family's company. My parents always said she was better than me before. And our friends also said I wasn't good enough for her. Now look at her face. Huh." I adjusted my emotions and was about to walk over when an unexpected voice stopped me. "Auntie, don't be sad. We'll always be with Eric. He'll definitely get through this and be okay." The sweet and soft voice came. It seemed that the betrayal had started long ago. My kind and gentle best friend was holding a handkerchief and tenderly wiping the tears from Eric's mother's face. In my past life, I often complained to Sophia about Eric staying out all night. And she also comforted me in this tone. "I'm so envious of your relationship. But Vivian, you're too strict. You should give men some space. Eric is so good to you. Even when you were so seriously injured. He didn't dislike you. You should trust him. Oh, isn't it just going out for a drink with friends? He's a man. It's normal for him to have social engagements. Give him more money. Don't let him lose face in front of his friends." At that time, Eric was probably hugging Sophia and laughing. They spent the money I gave them while sneering at me for being kept in the dark. Eric's mother wiped away her tears. Deeply touched. "Sophia. Thank you. Back then when Eric said he wanted to be friends with you, his dad and I didn't agree. Our Johnson family still relies on the Logan family's investment. It would have wronged you to be with Eric without a proper status. So Eric's parents had known about Sophia's existence all along. Their secret relationship was actually tacitly approved by Eric's parents. Since Sophia's relationship was approved, then regarding the embezzlement of the Logan family's assets. They really are a family. No. It's okay. Auntie. I'm very happy just to be with Eric. Besides, Vivian is also very nice. She's prettier than me. And her family is wealthy. She can help Eric more." Sophia bit her lower lip, blinked her watery eyes, then turned her head away and gently wiped the corners of her eyes. Seeing this, Eric's mother immediately held her hand. "You're such an understanding and kind-hearted child. That Vivian girl, apart from being good-looking, is no match for you. Eric often has to watch her face and is always being bossed around by her. Speaking of Vivian, by the way, where is Vivian? Didn't they say she wasn't seriously injured? Why haven't we seen her yet? My son is so badly hurt. Shouldn't she come right away to check on him? Don't be angry, Auntie. I heard Vivian also got a scratch. After applying medicine for so long, she should be here soon." On the surface, she was comforting, but in fact, she was adding fuel to the fire. Sophia's words weren't very clever, but because of Eric's injury, Eric's mother was on the verge of collapse. This intentional provocation was magnified countless times in her heart. A scratch. A scratch. Compared with my son's injury, it's nothing. Why is she okay while my son is disfigured and about to have his leg amputated? It must be her fault. She's a jinx to my son. In my previous life, she tightly held my hand and said, "Vivian, you saved Eric. Auntie will be grateful to you for the rest of my life. You're the savior of our family." Some people are really extremely double-standard and always like to blame others. Now Eric's mother doesn't care if I'm innocent or not. It's okay to hurt others. But hurting her son is unacceptable. My mother was so angry that she wanted to rush over. But my father and I stopped her. I shook my head at them with a smile and pulled them away. It's okay. We have plenty of time. Eric still had his leg amputated. Below the right knee. It was completely cut off. 3 days later, the hospital informed us that Eric had woken up. I put on a newly bought red dress, did a delicate makeup, and brought the chicken soup just cooked by the nanny. I came to the door of Eric's VIP ward. There were sounds of things being smashed in the ward, mixed with Eric's weak but furious shouts. How could this be? How could I be so badly hurt? No. No. I should be fine. How could this happen? Eric's mother trembled as she gently persuaded him. Eric. Calm down. The doctor said you can't get angry. Yeah. Eric. Auntie and I have been guarding you for 3 whole days. If anything happens to you, how can we live? TSK. I couldn't help clicking my tongue outside the door. I didn't expect Sophia to be so perseverant. Even though Eric was disabled and disfigured, she still chose to stay. I hope she can keep it up. Her words were rather insidious, but not very subtle. But because of Eric's injury, Eric's mother was on the verge of a breakdown. This deliberate provocation was magnified countless times in her heart. A scratch. A scratch. Compared with my son's injury, it's nothing. Why is she okay while my son is disfigured and about to have his leg amputated? It must be her fault. She's a jinx to my son. In my previous life. She tightly held my hand and said, Vivian, you saved Eric. Auntie will be grateful to you for the rest of my life. You're the savior of our family. Some people are really extremely double-standard and always like to blame others. Now Eric's mother doesn't care if I'm innocent or not. It's okay to hurt others. But hurting her son is unacceptable. My mother was so angry that she wanted to rush over. But my father and I stopped her. I shook my head at them with a smile and pulled them away. It's okay. We have plenty of time. I opened the door and walked in gracefully. The red dress rippled with my steps, making my fair cheeks look even more radiant. 3 pairs of eyes immediately fixed on me, but I ignored them as if I didn't notice. I placed the chicken soup on the table closest to Eric. Why did you come so late? Eric has been lying in bed for so many days. And you've been nowhere to be seen. Now you don't even have a single word of concern. Eric woke up thinking about you. But look at you. You're so heartless. Vivian. Before I could say a word, Sophia rushed forward and started scolding me. Eric's mother also stared at me with cold, hateful eyes, as if I had blown up her precious son. You call him Eric? I didn't defend myself. Instead, I just turned to Sophia and asked. Sophia was stunned. She had forgotten that in front of me, she should call Eric by his full name. I was just worried. Sophia glanced at Eric in the bed, with her eyes turning red pitifully. She looked so innocent and fragile that even I felt sorry for her. How come I never noticed she was such a good actress before? I deliberately stood side by side with Sophia. My neatly done makeup was in sharp contrast to Sophia's tired face and messy hair. As I expected, Eric didn't even give Sophia a side glance. He was just staring blankly at my red dress. I gave him a dazzling smile. Eric, you're finally awake. All those days I've been praying really worked. Well, not really. Since you're still awake. I carefully examined Eric. This was the first time I'd seen him since the accident. In public, Eric always presented himself as a gentle and considerate gentleman. His eyes looking at me were full of affection, and there was always a smile on his lips. Now, all I could see of Eric was his bald head. His face and body were wrapped in bandages, looking like a mummy. The floor was covered with a shattered mirror. It seemed that he had discovered his disfigured face. Thinking about my appearance in my past life, it would be hard for him to accept if it were him. Hearing me speak, he finally came to his senses and then excitedly tried to sit up. The weak Eric struggled for a long time but couldn't get up. Instead, he accidentally knocked over the chicken soup beside him and spilled it all over himself. Seeing his embarrassed look, I quickly turned my face away and secretly pinched my thigh, afraid that I couldn't help laughing out. Vivian, why? Why didn't you save me? He glared at me with bloodshot eyes and sternly questioned. A chill ran through my heart. In my past life, I saved him because I loved him. But he actually took it for granted. I covered my chest with a sad look on my face. I really wanted to save you, Eric. But I was also injured and was taken to the hospital by someone. Eric, are you blaming me for not rushing in to save you at the risk of explosion? Disfigurement. And a broken leg? I wiped away the non-existent tears again. You asked me to meet you at the coffee shop and said you had something important to tell me. What was it? Eric didn't answer. Instead, he stared at me intently, looking as if he wanted to devour me alive. Vivian, you didn't save me because you were reborn too? These words stunned Eric's mother and Sophia. I pretended to be surprised, widened my eyes, and looked at him blankly. Eric, what's wrong with you? What rebirth? What are you talking about? Eric seemed to be in a daze. He stared at me and continued. You should have saved me. If you saved me, I wouldn't have been injured. These injuries should have been on you. Then I would come out to take care of you. And you would be grateful to me. Everyone would be touched by me. And you were supposed to be. Yes. That's exactly what he did in his past life. He won everyone's praise and the full support of my parents, which turned his family's shabby little company into one of the few real wealthy families. And his way of repaying me, his savior, was to plot against my wealth and life. Eric, did you hit your head? Why are you talking nonsense? Doctor. Call the doctor quickly. Before Eric could say anything else, I quickly pressed the emergency bell and called his attending medical team. After the doctor's examination, he explained that Eric had a mild concussion from being hit by a stone and might have some memory confusion, which would recover in a few days. Eric no longer looked at me. He covered his head helplessly and murmured to himself. Vivian wasn't reborn. Then why? Could it be because in the end I? No. It's not my fault. Who asked her to give money and then not? Who wants to be with an ugly person all the time? If I had known it would be like this, I should have let Vivian continue. I regret it. What should I do now? Can I transfer these injuries back to Vivian? Others couldn't understand his whispers, but I understood them clearly. My hatred almost tore my chest apart. He still deluded himself into thinking that I would take on the injuries from the explosion for him. I touched my rapidly beating heart, gritted my teeth, and pretended to be considerate as I tucked in the quilt for Eric. Suddenly, Eric looked up. His expectant eyes were firmly fixed on me. Vivian, you love me, right? Make a wish and say that you're willing to bear these injuries for me. I'll treat you well in the future. No matter what you look like. I'll love you forever. I slowly exhaled, pretending not to know anything, and showed an innocent smile. Eric, what silly things are you saying? Don't worry. Aunt has found the best doctor for you. Although your right leg has been amputated, you can still live like an ordinary person with a prosthetic limb. Eric's mother rushed up and wanted to cover my mouth. But it was too late. My words clearly reached Eric's ears. What did you say? Amputation? What amputation? Fear made him sit up suddenly. He lifted the quilt and saw his missing right leg. How could? My leg! Where's my leg? Ah. Vivian didn't have her leg amputated last time. Why was I amputated? No. This is wrong. He roared hysterically and waved his hands wildly. Even the needle in his hand was shaken off. Vivian, you're going too far. Don't stimulate Eric anymore. Eric, don't be sad. I'll always be with you. Believe me. Sophia's words were undoubtedly a challenge to me. Sophia was smart. When people are at their most vulnerable, they naturally need the most care. She wanted to capture Eric's heart in this way and make him admit their relationship. She exaggeratedly threw herself on Eric and hugged him tightly. It was really a touching scene. And she also took the opportunity to belittle me. Even Eric's mother was a step slower. Seeing Eric's mother with an ashen face, I stepped back a little. The crazy Eric was already immersed in his own world. He probably didn't even hear Sophia's words, let alone be touched. Instead, because of Sophia's embrace, he scratched her twice. Fortunately, he didn't have much strength, and only 2 red marks of medium severity were left on Sophia's face. Eric. Eric didn't do it on purpose. Who asked you to get so close? Eric's mother defended her son, forcing Sophia, who was covering her face, to endure the pain and pretend to be generous. No, this isn't true. I was dreaming. I must be dreaming. I'll be fine when I wake up. Eric wanted to get out of bed, but he was too weak. His body tilted. He fell out of bed and crashed heavily onto the broken mirror. Ah! Eric screamed. The torn wound gushed with blood, mixing with the chicken soup that hadn't been cleaned up yet, creating a sticky mess all over the floor. Just like when I was. Eric! Help! Eric! Are you all right? Eric lay on the floor convulsing. His mother screamed in fright, and Sophia could only wail loudly. The floor was a complete wreck. The whole room was in disarray. How pathetic. Eric. But it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. I silently admired the scene for a moment, then pressed the emergency bell again. Eric had once taken over the Logan family for 2 years, and he was well aware of some of its loopholes. Although he didn't have any spare mental energy right now. Once he recovered, he might target the Logan family again, and I couldn't afford to be complacent. Of course, I had to utterly crush him too. Under my parents' proud gazes, I joined our family company as my father's special assistant. As the CEO's own daughter, I didn't really need to get my hands dirty. But I studied frantically and worked relentlessly. That ferocious drive astonished the entire company. My father worriedly told me to take it easy and rest. I smiled, agreed, then got back to work. Even the board elders directly praised that a tiger father has no weak cub, fully acknowledging me as the company's next heir. My efforts weren't in vain. I really found a few ticking time bombs inside the company. But no matter how exhausted I was, by dinner time, I'd always grab the chicken soup made by the housekeeper and rush to the hospital to see Eric. Rain or shine. My mother was furious with me, wanting to lock me up at home. But I assured them I was fine. Things like being love-addled just didn't exist for me. My father was also afraid my mind might be messed up, and he dragged me off to meet clients and discuss contracts during meals. But strangely, several young, handsome, well-off unmarried men always showed up at the dinner table. Are these clients? I pointed at the trendy guy wearing 3 golden earrings and snorted, asking my father. Cough. Well, none of the others suited you. So your mother and I thought you might prefer something edgier. This is way too edgy. Too avant-garde. But even if I liked someone like that, would you really dare bring him home as your son-in-law? My father immediately puffed out his chest. Sweetie, as long as you ditch that scumbag Eric, whatever you want, your dad will get it for you. Seeing that guy's ingratiating smile, I fled the private room like escaping for my life, not even wanting my own father anymore. I opened my phone and told Eric I'd visit him in the ward after 6:30. He coldly replied with an Under my expert acting, he was completely convinced I hadn't been reborn. After several attempts, once he realized his injuries couldn't be transferred to me, his attitude toward me plummeted dramatically. I showed up half an hour early at the ward door. As for what I did during that half hour, naturally I recorded the touching heart-to-heart inside the room. From what I knew, Sophia had been staying by Eric's side these days. And he loved it, 2 women completely devoted to him. Even jealous and competitive. Really feeding his ego as a man. Although Eric accepted the fact of his car accident, his temper was getting worse. Maybe that was his true nature. Only he preferred acting before. But now he'd given up completely. Right now, he was lying in bed, waiting for Sophia to pop a grape into his mouth. I held my phone and carefully recorded this moment. Honestly, I really admired Sophia. In my previous life, after my face was ruined, Eric never kissed me again, even when intimacy couldn't be avoided. He'd turn away. Looking back now, he was full of restraint and suppression. But I needed him so badly I automatically ignored the disgust in his eyes. Yet Sophia was different. She'd give a loud smack on Eric's fully bandaged face, not showing any discomfort at all. Of course, with that passionate kiss, Sophia always got generous rewards, new designer bags, sugary Dior perfumes, all sorts of luxury skincare products. I counted the time and gave a firm knock on the ward door. After 3 seconds, I walked in. They had separated, but Sophia was still sitting very close, feeding a grape into Eric's mouth in a flirty way, and gave me a triumphant smile. I placed the chicken soup on the table, ignoring Sophia's provocation. Eric flashed an awkward smile, swallowed the grape anyway, then tried to cover it up with an explanation to me. Vivian also came specifically to check on me, worried that the nurses weren't taking good enough care of me. Eric cleared his throat again, his tone turning cold, laced with disappointment and reproach. But you, what have you been busy with lately? You vanish for 2 or 3 days without a trace. You're my girlfriend. Shouldn't you be here with me every day? Are you looking to run off just because I'm disabled now? Let me tell you, Vivian, it's not like I need you either. Eric became more agitated as he spoke. So what if your family has a bit of stinking money? Once I recover, you'll be the one begging me. Sophia quickly stood up to comfort him, shooting me a glare when he wasn't looking. I've joined Logan Enterprises, I said mildly. You know I have to inherit the family business someday. I'm learning management right now. I peeled an orange and placed it in his hand, my voice brimming with artless sweetness. Logan Enterprises? What does a girl need to learn about managing a business for? Eric sounded provoked, pointing an accusatory finger at me. Once you marry me, you'll just stay home taking care of the household. That's all you need to do. He and Sophia weren't even trying to hide their closeness anymore. And he still thought I'd marry him? I turned to look at Sophia. Her eyes burned with resentment. She was trembling, her knuckles white where she gripped Eric's bedsheets. Eric noticed Sophia too and gave her a warning look. After I get better, Eric continued, puffing out his chest with newfound confidence. You need to talk to your father. Tell him to hand Logan Enterprises over to me. I'll definitely take it to the next level. He was still trying to follow the script from his last life. Aiming to drain my family dry again? In your dreams. We'll see once you're recovered, I replied, nearly unable to hold back the urge to spit in his face. Eric waved a dismissive hand. So what if I lost a leg? Technology these days is incredible. Prosthetics are basically indistinguishable from the real thing. Sounds like he's been doing some heavy-duty mental gymnastics these past few days. But, was there no real difference? Don't worry, Eric. You'll find out soon enough. By the way, he added casually, transfer me some cash. A buddy's girlfriend got pregnant. Needs an abortion. The girl wants surgery fees plus damages. How ridiculous. Asking me for the money. Sophia gently tugged his sleeve nearby. His eyes darted. And he tacked on, also. Sophia's been looking after me nonstop. You should cover her effort too. Transfer Sophia $100,000 for starters. I'll ask for more if it's not enough. I nodded. No problem. In 2 days. Just as long as Sophia still wants to keep caring for you in 2 days. 2 days from now was when Eric would have his bandages removed. I felt like a little girl waiting to unwrap a gift. Bubbling with excitement. I remembered how it was the last time. When my bandages came off, Eric tried to be comforting until he saw my ruined face. He screamed, actually screamed, and bolted out of the room, a grown man terrified. Days later, his parents dragged him back to see me. He wouldn't even raise his head. The nurse stood behind Eric. Gloves on. Ready. Eric's mother and Sophia hovered close, each holding one of his hands, their voices unnaturally soothing as they tried to calm his rising agitation. Eric's father, having rushed back from a business trip, stood nearby too. Though travel-worn, the elder Johnson didn't seem particularly sad about his son's injury. There was almost a glow about him. I knew why. I'd had someone check. His side piece was pregnant. He'd sent her somewhere safe to wait out the pregnancy. Last life. With Eric unharmed, the baby hadn't been kept. This time, Dad made a different choice. The nurse had just started unwrapping the bandages. Maybe 2 layers peeled back. When the door slammed open, 5 or 6 young men bustled in, all Eric's best friends. Hey Eric! Heard you're getting the wraps off today. We came to show some love. One boomed. Eric. The leg's all good now. Right? When you springin' outta here? The pool hall got some new hotties waitin'. Eric. Party tonight. Yeah. Gotta treat the boys now you're back in action. If Eric had any color in his face just then, it must have drained completely away. He clenched his teeth. Who told you guys I was having the bandages off today? Who said you should come? The guy leading the pack paused, then broke into a carefree grin. Sophia did. She told us, your girl. Right. Sophia? Called us herself. Hearing your girl made Sophia's eyes light up. She didn't even register Eric's growing rage. Eric. Yes. It was me. I posted in the group chat. They've been dying to see you, you kept saying no. Her smile faded slightly. Eric? What's wrong? Eric glared at Sophia with pure venom. She looked bewildered. I understood perfectly. Eric hadn't breathed a word about his injury, a lost leg. A major disability, to his friends. Sophia. Dating him quietly for a year. Never grasped how obsessively he guarded his image, this charming, handsome facade. Before I'd left his room days ago, I'd murmured softly, almost to myself, wonder if we should invite all his brothers down to celebrate the unwrapping? Upon hearing this, Sophia immediately tagged all of Eric's friends in the group chat. Desperate to win favor. She was terrified I might beat her to it. Today, dressed elegantly but simply, I stood by the farthest door from Eric, watching the group's insincere interactions. What a delightful scene to anticipate. Eric couldn't bring himself to kick them out, their families matched his in status. And the leader was someone he simply couldn't offend. Sitting in his wheelchair, Eric clenched the armrests, his gaze cutting into Sophia like knives. Yet all he could do was let the nurse unwind the bandages from his head. As each layer peeled away, the room's atmosphere froze. The smiles plastered on their faces gradually faded, leaving them all rooted in stunned silence. Ah! After Sophia's shriek, the last strip of white gauze fell to the floor. Every eye locked onto Eric's face. Shock. Terror. Disgust. Eric vividly recalled my disfigured past, ugly. Yes, but it had never provoked such exaggerated reactions. Uneasy. He picked up the mirror prepared beside him, lifting it slowly toward himself. This is my face? The reflection revealed a cratered, lunar landscape of mottled grayish skin. His brows had vanished completely, and even the once handsome, chiseled nose was half gone. On closer look, His left cheek appeared 2 sizes smaller than the right. This disfigurement was far more severe than Vivian's own in the previous life. No. No. Impossible. Eric hurled the mirror to the ground. Crash! Shards exploded outward, hitting those standing closest, sparking a chorus of curses. Damn it! I brought everyone to see you. And you dare smash things at me? What the hell is that? Scared me to death. Hey! Let's get out of here. His face is oozing pus. Could it be contagious? Smiling. I captured their panic and confusion on video, then uploaded it to a burner account. Out! All of you get out! Out now! Eric's roar cracked with rage as he began smashing everything in the hospital room. Eric's parents, friends, and the woman he loved all hurried past me, each hiding their own private thoughts, and swiftly emptied the room. Exhausted from the outburst, Eric collapsed, clutching his head as he gasped for air. How could this be? Vivian's face hadn't been this wrecked before. I can't become this. Not this monstrous thing. He kept demanding answers, but there were none to give. I walked over slowly, picked up Eric's phone, and opened the burner account. Over 1,000 comments already flooded in. Gently patting his shoulder, I waited until his dazed eyes lifted before holding the screen before him. Look. They're all calling you brave. Everyone's rooting for your recovery. Wishing you and Sophia a lifetime together. My voice flowed soft and warm. Impossible to drown out the venom seeping from the comments. Holy shit. Dude looks scarier than Voldemort. Yikes. This'll haunt my nightmares tonight. If that were me? Straight to the 18th floor jump. Hey. That's my buddy. Saw him at the hospital today. Trust me. He's worse than the video shows. Unimaginably horrifying. See. Eric? They all want you to keep fighting. Eric raised his face to meet my shimmering gaze. His entire body convulsed as if gripped by late-stage Parkinson's. Vivian. You know. Don't you? You're like me, reincarnated. What are you even saying? Eric? I don't understand. He lunged for my arm, but I slipped free. Ugh. You're disgusting. Eric. Don't touch me. Twirling lightly inside the room, I rubbed my own face with both hands. Fortunately, I didn't rush in to save you. Otherwise, if I ended up like you, how could I go on living? Just looking at you makes me want to throw up. You're utterly disgusting. I laughed and loudly repeated. Utterly disgusting. Vivian. I was wrong. I was wrong. Let's make up. Let's get married. Okay? Let's go get our marriage license tomorrow. Eric had a mental breakdown. He tried to stand up, but he forgot that his right leg was gone. Eric fell to the ground, curling up like a shrimp and groaning in pain non-stop. But I still didn't want to let him off the hook. Eric. Look at your face in the mirror. How disgusting. How could you have the nerve to expect me to stay by your side? However, you don't need to be too sad. Without me, you still have Sophia, right? You two love each other so much. She surely won't mind your ugly face. I squatted in front of Eric, lifted his chin with my hand, and carefully examined his disfigured face. Eric, do you think there's reincarnation in this world? Before he could answer, I continued talking to myself. If you hadn't killed me back then, I might still be in a terrible state, taking the blame for you. After hearing me, Eric's eyes suddenly widened, filled with horror. You. My hand, just like Eric's hand before my rebirth, wrapped around his neck. Do you think you'll be reborn if I strangle you now? Before he could react, I suddenly let go of my hand. Without my support, he fell back to the ground. That would be too good for you. I think your current state suits you best. Vivian, forgive me. Please. I've realized now that the only person I love is you. I was bewitched. I was ungrateful. I stood up, patted the non-existent dust off my skirt, and turned to open the door of the hospital ward. Eric completely lost it. He burst into tears and crawled towards the door while crying, trying to stop me from leaving. No, Vivian. Don't leave me. Vivian. Please. Please. I just turned my head and said, "Despicable scumbag," then shut the hysterical howling behind the door. I asked my dad to withdraw the investment from the Johnson family's business. Without the Logan family as their cash cow, the Johnson family's capital chain quickly snapped, and they declared bankruptcy in less than 2 months. I gave the address of Eric's father's mistress to Eric's mother. Before she made her fortune, Eric's mother was a feisty woman. She gathered a lot of people and caused a huge ruckus in front of the mistress's door, making the whole thing public. The baby in the mistress's womb never got the chance to be born. The pain of losing her child made the mistress sue Eric's mother. Eric's father resented his wife for causing him to lose his son, so he even testified for the mistress in court. Although the judge didn't accept his testimony, Eric's mother was still sentenced to 3 years in prison for intentional injury. The Johnson family was in a complete mess, and no one cared about Eric in the hospital anymore. The once envied young Master Johnson now couldn't even get a glance from the nurses. After the chaos in the Johnson family finally subsided, Eric's father remembered his only remaining son. He took out the little money he had left and got Eric a prosthetic leg. Just after getting the prosthetic leg, Eric had a lot of trouble walking. He limped around and was even less mobile than when he was on crutches. Because of his disfigurement, Eric almost always stayed at home. If he had to go out, he would cover his whole face. He became more and more self-conscious and sensitive, with extremely fragile mental health. Even the slightest disturbance or an extra look from others would make him furious. Time passed quickly, and it was the eve of the wedding from my previous life again. I specifically prepared a big gift for Eric on this day. First, I edited the intimate video of Sophia and Eric in the hospital ward into a beautiful memory album and sent it to Eric. Then I used an anonymous account to send Eric another video. This video was shot in a private room of a bar. That good friend who led the group to visit Eric in the hospital was now hugging Sophia and flirting with her wantonly. Sophia pretended to resist but actually welcomed it, wiggling her hips and hugging the man's neck to act coquettishly. "Mr. Lee, what about the bag you promised to buy me last time?" Mr. Lee pinched Sophia's butt hard and leered at her. "Is that how you asked Eric for things too?" Ouch! Don't mention that half-human, half-ghost thing. I tell you, his manhood was blown off. Sophia actively kissed Mr. Lee, and there was a string of saliva when they separated. Eric's was blown off? Ha ha ha. The room erupted in laughter. The camera panned around, clearly capturing the smiling faces of everyone around. All Eric's good friends. The last news I heard about Eric was on the front pages of major news media. What kind of hatred could it be? A disabled man showed amazing explosive power and attacked people with a knife on the street, resulting in 1 death and 5 injuries. Sophia died on the spot, and Mr. Lee and the other 4 friends were all injured. In particular, Eric cut off Mr. Lee's genitals, and Eric was repeatedly hacked with knives by Lee Xiao's brothers. Admitted to the hospital and barely saved back to life. Eric's father despised this troublemaking and useless son immensely, and ultimately chose to abandon everything and disappear. And before Eric was about to be sentenced to death, I promptly provided Eric's mental illness test report. After all, I still needed Eric to personally witness how well I was living the life he rejected. I was drinking coffee, relaxing in the garden beside the psychiatric ward bed, watching Eric, a mere shell of his former self, howling on the bed, as a cool breeze swept through, carrying a floral fragrance.